Okay. As I said, I talked about something different than my mother did, but this is our work in collaboration. It's not just my work. Basically, today I just want to share with you some of the new discoveries, theoretical discoveries of the properties of water. And when my mother and I learned about these discoveries, we saw that they, maybe not explain is a big word, but to give some ideas to allow us to explain some of the experiments on water, some interesting experiments that we came across before. And today I'll share with you these new theoretical discoveries about properties of water and some experiments that can be analyzed through this theoretical research. First of all, so now I have to log in this thing. Okay, so in 1990s, quite well-known expert in the theory of quantum electrodynamics, Italian scientist Preparata, theoretically demonstrated that coherent domains can form in water. Later on, his work was continued by another Italian scientist, Del Giudice. What they discovered, again, theoretically, was that coherent domains, what induced the appearance of coherent domains, and molecules in the domain can be described by the same wave function. So basically, we have a large, quite large area of in water that has different property. The diameter of the coherent domain is about 100 nanometers. The domain can contain about several millions molecules. And what's interesting that such domains form under normal conditions, the room temperature. And basically we can talk about water to be a two-phase system consisting of coherent phase, which is about 40% of volume, again at room temperature, and incoherent phase. The exchange of molecules between coherent, there's basically, it's a continuous exchange of molecules between the coherent and incoherent phase. But basically has some areas of basically quantum system inside water. What has been also, again, theoretically shown that quantum energy level within a domain is lower compared to non-coherent water, so which make them quite stable, the energy fluctuations. Another interesting discovery is that the oscillation of molecules in coherent domain occur between ground state and excited state being 12.06 electron volt, which is very close to the ionizing threshold of water, which is 12.6 electron volt when water molecule breaks into hydrogen and oxygen, and basically we have quasi-free electrons in water. So coherent domain must have an ensemble of millions of almost free electrons. What's another interesting idea? So basically we have domains in water, spherical domains in water, 40% of it, which has quantum properties, basically quantum objects, and they have energy lower than the energy of the rest of the water, and they have free electrons. Also, Del Giudice showed that these electrons form vortexes in these domains, which make us think that basically we can picture these domains as some kind of like an atom with electrons orbiting the nucleus, which means these domains might have their own natural frequencies or can capture energy and shift their frequencies. Now, as I said before, when we learn about these new ideas, we recall the experiments on water memory done by Jacques Ben-Ministre. We also later on found that some other scientists came to the same idea, especially when we think about homeopathy. The experiments of water memory was the scientific approach to the idea of homeopathy. So these ideas about coherent domain, explanation of the water memory through coherent domain, appeared recently in some journals. Let me remind you, if you don't know, I'll just tell you what was the experiments done by Jacques Ben-Ministre. He published them in 1988 in Nature. Jacques Ben-Ministre was a French immunologist, quite well known in his area, and he decided to test to check if homeopathy have any, any scientific grounds behind it. So what he showed briefly, he demonstrated that water retains the memory of the substance diluted in it, even when after multiple dilutions, none of the molecules of the original substance remain. Being immunologist, he studied the reaction of human white blood cells, basophilus, to the solution containing anti-immunoglobulin. He prepared the solution the same way the solutions are prepared in homeopathy. And he pointed out in his interviews that this stage is very important. He shaked the solution at every dilution. The solution was violently shaken. Again, that's how it's prepared in homeopathic remedies. Jacques Ben-Ministre claimed that this is important stage for the water to retain memory of that solution. So he reached the dilution as high as 1 to 10 to the 60 to the original substance. So basically, only molecules of water remain, no molecules of the antibodies. He then tested the resultant water on human basophilus, and he found that it reacts to the pure water, the same as resulting pure water, the same way it's resulted to the original solution. And that's why he said that it looks like that water kept some of the frequencies of the original solution in some way, what he called memory of water. This was not accepted by scientific community at that time. He was widely criticized. He lost his position in the university. He founded his own lab, and the reason it was criticized because water was known at that time, and the frequencies of water were known. So there was no understanding where this memory, where the memory of, even if water picked up some frequencies from substance diluted in it, where these frequencies are kept. Is there a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, how did he measure it? How did he establish?
Oh, he just measured it on, he measured the allergic reaction.
Right.
So he was immunologist, so when I read the experiment, he basically just he tested the normal reaction of the solution, or like an allergen, certain kind of allergen on human white basophils, which respond to allergen. After he prepared this, diluted this water, he took the resultant water and tested again, and he showed that They have reaction, yes.
So he was inferring from that there was this memory.
Yeah, he was inferring he was inferring that what he was surprised to discover that water, after basically, you know, chemistry tell us that with these dilutions, the reaction should decrease. He demonstrated that when basically no molecules of water remain, that's what he demonstrated, that he still have a reaction. Again, I'm just telling you about this discovery. I'm not like.
Is there a body of X-ray information? Is there a body of X-ray information, X-ray diffraction, to act as a correlate with all this?
Not that I know, but what I know that when they tried to repeat some of these experiments, but where he was also criticized that they couldn't repeat, not all the independent laboratories could repeat it. What I read was that later on there was some experiments that magnetic field, for example, can destroy, but it's different.
It is an X-ray itself, because of like crystallography, is it not?
But what I heard that magnetic field can destroy the structures. Maybe X-ray can destroy them too. I don't know.
Can I just make a comment here? It's I've done neutron scattering experiments, not on this stuff, but we have discovered domains which were ordered in liquid benzene, which by nature should be completely disordered.
Did you say benzene?
Benzene, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it turns out that the molecules tend to order according to the neighbor and maybe the next neighbor, but then it breaks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm prepared to accept that he was able to observe ordered domain in the disordered body of water. However, if you think about it, if you start to shake it and you work at room temperatures, you've got competition with thermal energy, which is most likely destroying that. So,
I just want to point out again that
that's as much as I can say.
No, I want to point out again to emphasize what I said before about coherent domain is purely theoretical result. It's not the result of any observations. Like coherent domain, basically Porporata obtained this result from equations of quantum electrodynamics. As far as I know, they were not measured yet. But he just found it theoretically that they can form in normal conditions. There must be such domains. That's what he showed.
With respect to this last comment, the energy involved in shaking, the frictional energy and all that, would be much less than the actual total thermal energy in the process. I mean,
is it so?
Oh, I think so. Just
okay.
Just to,
I
go through that.
You can do that calculation.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
No, that's okay. I don't mind. Yeah. So just again, I'm sharing this. So that was his experiment, and he did not provide any specific explanation. But again, in view what I said before about this theoretical calculation that showed that domain must form, going back to the question, if assuming that he was correct, assuming we cannot, I didn't check this experiment, but assuming that Jean Benveniste did accurate experiments, to answer the question where this information about the substance can be kept, we can say that now, since water has domain, these domains are basically quantum objects, we can say that the frequencies from the substance were absorbed, or energy from the substance, radiated from the substance molecules were absorbed by domains, and since domains are stable, they can be kept in the domains. Basically, these frequencies were kept in the domains. About the shaking, we believe that shaking must help to infect, let's say, infect the domains with the frequencies of the substance. That's our view of that. Yes.
Can I just be absolutely clear?
Yes.
The domains that we're talking about are of the order of 100 nanometers.
That's right, nanometers, yeah. That's what, again, this is also theoretical result.
Yeah.
Nobody measured them. So that's what he showed, that his equation gives them that this must form. Again, it's important to, they're quantum objects, because water by itself is not a quantum.
Yeah, the question.
Yeah.
So the theoretical calculation is showing that this result the solution of this equation, theoretical equation, can exist, or is it a possibility?
No, it's must.
Proving
Must.
existence.
No, he proved it must form.
Must
Yes,
exist.
his equation tells us that at normal conditions, such domains, coherent domains, must form in water. That's what he showed. He demonstrated quantum electrodynamics include the interaction between matter and vacuum fluctuations. That's where it came from. But again, it's equations of coherence.
Is it an equation? So it's a differential equation?
Yeah, it's equations of electrodynamics. They include the interaction between matter and fluctuations of the vacuum.
So those include the boundary conditions?
Yeah, right. Yes. Okay, so again, so we can only discuss it or can provide some hypothesis that since again water has these areas of these domains, then these domains are the ones, and they're quite stable, that can keep the information, keep these frequencies of the original solution. Even when solution molecules are not present anymore, these frequencies can still be present in water and kept by domain. Again, shaking, it needs to be studied and analyzed. It's just a hypothesis that shaking probably helped to let's say, I use the word infect the domains with this, the frequencies emitted by the frequencies of the molecules of the original solution.
I wouldn't say infect, I would say the break the domain and the domain equals.
I was going to
Yeah, you can say, yeah, but we cannot, again, the idea of the coherent domains is new, it needs to be tested, but it's a very good point. Basically, I avoid to say anything in more details because it's not quite clear, it needs to be studied how this energy emitted by molecules is captured by the domains. We can only fantasize on that, but somehow we can say that this, if the experiment is correct, that's a possible explanation that emitted frequencies by the substance molecules are catched by, energy is catched by the domains, which basically having free electrons is like atom can shift their nature frequencies and start to oscillate at the frequency of the original molecule.
So would that mean that the equation that the theoretical equation of this coherent domain is a solution of, would that mean that necessarily that differential, partial differential equation would be necessarily nonlinear? Because it would be...
I'm not ready to repeat right now. I can refer you to the article of the preparati. It's quite rigorous mathematical calculations, how he showed it. I'm not ready to repeat them right now. Again, just briefly, briefly, the Nadia Lvov experiment that basically deals with the same idea. What he tried to do, he called it he opened a laboratory where he did more experiments. Basically, he tried to impress information of water electrically, so electric signal. He tried to see if he can record some frequencies of a solution and imprint it electrically on the pure water. Basically, his second experiment was briefly as follows. He and his team wound 2 coils around a test tube containing a water solution of a particular biochemical. Then he played white noise into one coil, sends the modified white noise in the other coil, and then the modified white noise from the biochemical was sent as a digital file to another location, and then it was played this modified white noise was played into coil that was wrapped around a test tube of pure water. And again, he was shaking it during the process. Again, I'm repeating what he said. He pointed several times that it was important. Without it, he said that water did not retain memory. Again, I assume that he was accurate in his experiments. So he tested then this pure water on biomaterials and lab animals, and again he showed that the skin of the guinea pig reacted to pure water, and also I read somewhere that he even tried to wound coil around guinea pig and played it directly into it. And it showed that it reacted as if there wasn't a test of substance. Again, with his discoveries, he gave some grounds to believe that homeopathy can have some scientific grounds, some scientific explanation. It's interesting that if you think that these are frequencies that are actually produce some result, then in some way the remedy prepared, homeopathic remedies prepared like that, the pure water is in some ways healthier than the original substance because it does not have side effects. Actually, there was another experiment talking about homeopathy done in Russia, where they showed also they test homeopathic remedies. They showed that they studied the effect of the remedy with the dilutions, and they found an interesting result that first the effect decreases and then with more dilutions it's increased. So again, it's just one of the possible coherent domain. Give us some explanation to this experiment. Again, it all have to be tested. It's just ideas, some ideas.
Query? Were any of the other experiments conducted by other laboratories particularly successful in replicating the results?
I think it's 50-50. Yes, some of them did and some didn't. What I was mentioned that before, I read later on that they found that magnetic field, if magnetic field is present, then magnetic field obviously would not destroy the solution, but magnetic field destroyed the water, resulting water. So the water stopped showing these properties of magnetic field. So it might be some scientists who said that they claim that that's why some of the repetition of Benveniste experiments failed, because they didn't know this fact. Yes, yeah.
Если неизвестна природа, тогда повторение эксперимента может быть эксперимент может не повторяться.
If the nature of the effect is unknown, that repetition of experiment may not be consistent because we may not know.
I understand.
Yeah. So basically, to answer this question, it's rather most of them could not repeat.
Okay.
Could not. Yeah. That's another reason it was not accepted.
Just one comment. I think Benveniste has an English counterpart. I'm afraid I forget his name. Do you actually remember Peter?
Is it Sheldrake?
It may be. He attended the Vigier conferences, and he had a whackload of experiments.
Cyril Smith.
That's right. Yes.
Cyril Smith.
Yes. So he has a whole lot of experiments. Without going in, you can't tell how careful they were, but the results seem quite spectacular.
Yeah, I kind of, when I read that, I think that he tried to make accurate experiments, so we cannot really doubt that he's trying to falsify them. But again, the problem was that it's hard to explain them. But I heard that they were repeated by other laboratories.
But I think Cyril had his own experiments, which he conducted and seemingly verified a lot of the ideas behind the memory in water. So
Is he still alive, this guy?
Yeah, he's still alive, as far as I know.
Yeah,
I don't know whether he started. He came to Baden-Baden 2 years ago.
I think that's right.
We were there.
Yeah.
but I think he said it might be his last meeting.
Yeah.
He's at Salford if you want to contact him. I could get details of how to contact him. He uses the nil-potent concept in his explanation.
Well, I mean, that automatically means he's right.
Well, I'm positive about it. I'm positive about that aspect.
Yeah.
But it's not just this kind of work he does. He does other kind of work as well.
Well, yes.
Okay, now I will talk about other experiments done in Stony Brook by team of the scientists Xu and Wu, Dr. Xu and Dr. Wu. What they did, they had basically a reservoir with water, which they subjected to microwave radiation, 1500 watt microwave for 2 minutes. Or in another experiment, they subject this reservoir with this water to audio frequency of 20 watts for 30 minutes, so it's different. So then what they did, they separate this water into 2 reservoirs. What they demonstrated in the experiment was that they can manipulate water in the second reservoir. They change some pH value, temperature of water in one reservoir by manipulating water in the other remote reservoir. Again, the water was originally in the same reservoir. And they measure pH, they change pH in one reservoir, they observe the change in the other, and same thing with temperature and even weight. I'll repeat, this experiment was done in Stony Brook. How did they explain this effect? They said that it looks like quantum entanglement. On the other hand, there is a problem. They said that by dealing with macroscopic quantum entanglement, but the problem is that water is not a quantum, basically it's not a quantum object by itself. So, once again, if we accept the existence of the coherent domain in water, then we can give a different explanation. As I said before, the domains are macroscopic quantum system. And if we think that the domains in the original reservoir were in the same quantum state, then we can talk about quantum correlation between the domains when they were separated. And again, what I said at the beginning of this experiment, they put water in microwave, or when they subjected to audio frequency, probably was a way to set the domains in the same quantum state. Again, this is just a hypothesis, our idea. But this is again another interesting experiment which seems, which didn't have explanation, but could be in some way explained if we accept this new theory of coherent domains, discovery of coherent domains. That was another experiment. Now, tonight I saw that Anton put some in the program that we're going to see a video on easy water, right? Done by Pollock, I assume. I want to say a few words about this since we're going to see the video tonight. The water on the interface and the unusual properties of water on the interface has been studied since 1940s. Recently, a group, I believe it's Washington University, Pollock and his group, they studied this, they call it exclusion zone, special property of the interface water. Why do they call it exclusion zone? Because they discovered when they tried to introduce paint, to paint water, they found that there is a zone that excludes any molecules of paint. Later on, they found that this zone excludes any substance introduced to water. So that's why they called exclusion zone was simply easy water. It was believed for a long time that this layer next to the surface is very thin, like a few molecules. But he discovered that it's about 100 micrometers thick, so it's quite a thick layer. And it's increase when what is subjected to infrared radiation, to different type of radiation. This I put only briefly, we will learn probably more today. It has many interesting properties, and its viscosity is 10 times the rest of the water. What's interesting and important that it has a negative potential with respect to the rest of the water. It's basically charged. It has charge in it. Again, we will see more tonight, I believe, about properties of easy water. They call it structures water. They said it's structure. Del Giudice and colleagues, they suggest that easy water is in fact a giant coherent domain which is stabilized on the surface. It was near the surface. So, yeah, what was the question?
Yeah, can I make a comment rather than a question? That should produce a really dramatic visual effect in looking at the meniscus formed by liquid in a tube.
Yes,
should be really dramatic.
Should be, yeah. I think
it's
that will show.
the video,
yeah, it will show
in the evening. You know, it's there are others as well. It's quite interesting work that was done, and after my own explanations, which will contribute to these, but
I think about 7 years ago, I attended his presentation, and he did, as Anton said, he made very nice videos, like you said, visually demonstrate. So I believe we will see that today. Yeah, they don't have. They have some of their explanations, but it's still not very well understood. He basically called it a fourth phase of water. He believed has very different properties than the rest of the water. This is a different explanation again in view of this new theory of coherent domain. We believe that near the surface, such domains must be very stable. Why everybody gets so excited about this easy water and this layer water? Because in living organisms, most of the water is near the surface in membranes. So, and coherent domains as well, these all ideas provide some new way to look at the emergence of life. Why emergence of life? The way they see that, explain that, they said, if you think about coherent domain, for example, I mentioned before that in coherent domain, the oscillations are very close to ionized threshold, so it has free electrons. And if we have a living organism, water, for example, and water near surface, which has free electrons, if potential difference is applied, then it's basically work as a battery, and it provides a source of electrons. And most of the biological processes like redox process, reduction, oxidation, which are necessary as an important biological process, they all require the source of electron, the flow of electrons and transfer of energy. So they said if there is this water near the surface that has free electrons, this can provide, and if we have potential difference, that provide the necessary flow of electrons for these reactions. Also, Del Giudice suggested another way, again, keeping in mind life emergence, that if we have a domain which has certain frequencies, oscillate a certain frequency, and which matches the frequency of the molecules, can attract molecules, and as frequency and reaction can occur on such domain. As reaction occur, some of the energy transfer back in the domain and shifts its energy levels. So all this, you can find lots of literature online now, many publications about this explanation how we can use, how it can provide explanation of light emergence and some source of energy. But I want to talk about different experiments that, on the contrary, tell us that there must be something more. There's something more to talk about life than just water, the special properties of water interface. These experiments are not widely known. They were done by a Romanian biochemist Makovsky. What he did, he studied water in living and dead organisms to compare water and compare the behavior of living and dead organisms. And what he found, what he did was the following. He did experiments on the plants. He exposed the living plant to both living and dead plant to 200 atmosphere pressure. And he demonstrated that living and dead plants behave differently. Even so, we can think about molecular structure and water being the same in both. The living plant released some water and remained alive, but not all the water. When the dead plant, on the other hand, when subjected to the same pressure, released immediately all the water it contained. He tested the water was the same, but what he believed, what his ideas, Makovsky's ideas, was that living organisms have some sort of biostructure. That's how he called it, biostructure. He believed that structure is in vacuum, and when a plant was no longer when the plant died, then the biostructures broke and plant released all the water. He viewed the biostructure as a sponge. We like this idea in the sense that it's kind of reflects what my mother said in her previous talk, what she mathematically discovered, the mathematical result gives something similar, that structures must form in vacuum if we assume that vacuum is some form of matter. The only thing that I want to say that obviously pressure cannot act on vacuum because they're of different scale. So as my mother said in the previous talk, what we believe is that quantum systems like molecules, if I assume that vacuum is kind of some sort of matter, then structures must accompany all quantum systems. So we can say that quantum system has extension in physical vacuum, form some structures in physical vacuum. And obviously, if that is true, then living organisms must have different structures in vacuum than dead ones. And that's why we see different behavior of living and dead plants when they subjected to pressure. But again, he tested what was released by dead and living was the same. Okay, I'll stop here, and that again, I wanted just to share with you all this.
Surely, surely the same vacuum is present in both cases, dead or alive.
So that's what, yeah, that's what, why, but we believe that if that each quantum system like molecule has formed some kind of structures in vacuum and they're different for living, they affect the living organism, I'll just translate. Living organism can control, affect these structures on quantum level. The vacuum structures on quantum level, the living organism can have some effect. You understand?
Richard, you go first and then I'll go.
I first encountered this idea about different states of water from a friend who developed angina. And of course, being very scientifically minded, he was very sceptical about the medical establishment's treatment for angina. And so he went searching for alternative explanations as to what the heart was. And one of these is basically that the heart isn't a pump. It can't be a pump. It's because if you think about the sort of the structure of the capillaries and the veins, how can that work? And the explanation of somebody who's sort of investigated alternative treatments, which it turned out proved to be extremely effective in my friend's case, was that the heart was a kind of vortex machine, that it was coordinating vortices in the flow of blood throughout the body. And you mentioned vortices in this work on water, and he is referencing this stuff on the different states of water. I wonder if you can say something about vortices.
Well, I can say that when I prepared this presentation, I've come across many experiments, very interesting experiments that water changes. There is a frequencies of water, for example, the frequency of the body.
Yeah.
There are certain similar frequencies. When we drink water, it's also have some effect on the body. So I can assume that, or like I said, all these oscillations, like vortices, for example, is also certain frequency of the session. Yes, it can have some.
So I mean, this is very interesting, very exciting, in fact.
There are certain things to. Obviously, there's more things to research in this direction. It's not.
Just as a comment, first of all, this is very much in line with my philosophy, which is basically that everything is a wave function, including our thoughts and so on. But back to your topic, you say that coherent domains have not been observed. I would like to say, I have physically observed them, and I would say that each and every snowflake is a coherent domain, because otherwise it cannot have that symmetrical structure. So if we have a seed nucleus which forms an ice, there's a certain wave function associated with it. Onto this nucleus, another water molecule condenses onto it, which imbalances this wave function, which the first one needs to balance, and therefore it gets the other six atoms or molecules go onto specific locations. Then you have another random one going on, and the next six, because it's a six-sided
It's
star.
very similar to the process they believe domain works. The only thing I can say that I doubt that the snowflake can be described by one wave function. Because coherent domain, what's interesting is because it's described by saying it's like quantum.
How do you explain the symmetry from the left-hand side of the snowflake to the right-hand side of the snowflake?
Well, not perfect. And not perfect.
No, crystals, right? There's symmetry in crystals. Again, I don't know if they can be treated as quantum objects, the whole snowflake, but it's a similar idea. They also believe that domains are formed by attracting. Yeah, again, what you said about wave function is more like Nina said, that it's because physical vacuum exists, and yes, there is continuation of physical vacuum, like you said, our thoughts and everything can be there.
I always say, the unanswered question is the inheritance of knowledge. I always quote the monarch butterfly in the USA that does this huge migration from Mexico right over the continent back to Mexico over 6 generations.
So that's what.
That is knowledge being.
That's what. Our thoughts are in. Our thoughts are in physical vacuum, somewhere there, somewhere in the stars.
Kind of finding geographical area as well.
That it's definitely somewhere, and the probably all this information is in vacuum, not just in our heads.
Correct. We can listen to it.
Yes, I agree with you. Do you have a question?
Yeah, mostly a comment. I've been developing a Cartesian model of living systems, which does have a rich structure in the vacuum, in addition to what matter has. currently hidden by the uncertainty principle. And on Thursday, I will talk about the experiment that will have access to that structure. So it won't be long before we can actually have devices that will see that whole living
Oh, interesting, yeah.
Can I make a point? My main concern, the reason for being here, is criticism of the idea of quantum mechanics, and particularly the idea of wave function. The idea of wave function is a much broader thing than just quantum mechanics, and in fact I believe that the quantum mechanical paradigm is in error, actually, in certain distinct areas. So that the general principle of wave function works, but you then must apply it as waves functionally will work in whatever mechanism you're thinking of as the model. That's a broader question, and I would submit to you that it's probably the basis that will give you some answers in that where quantum mechanics won't.
Yeah, it's, again, I cannot comment on that.
No,
It's
indeed,
interesting, yeah.
but you can certainly find the flaws in quantum mechanics if you bother digging for them.
Probably. I don't have comment on that. Yes, interesting idea. I don't know.
Any other questions or comments? Well, if not, let's thank our speaker again. Thank you. Let's just take a break for coffee and maybe come back, say 1:15.